So, Dr. English, would you just introduce yourself?
Sure, my name is Mike English. I am the President and CEO of the Missouri Council on Economic Education and also a visiting professor of economics here at University of Missouri, Kansas City. Our organization is a nonprofit and we promote economic and financial education in K-12 schools.
Now, you're also working with Missouri Virtual School?
That's right. Missouri Virtual Instruction Program is a state-level institution that runs virtual classes for K through 12 schools.
Well, okay, let's be honest here. So, personal finance is actually a pretty tough type of topic to get students engaged with, right?
It is. It is, and it's a difficult. It's difficult material, and that's probably the biggest reason. The more challenging content is, the more difficult it is to get students engaged. So, yeah, it is. Some of it is fairly dry. You're teaching students how to read a W-2 form, or how to budget their monthly expenses, what a stock or a bond is, and so. Although it's very practical, it can be a bit dry, and so that's one reason we really need to make it seem more interesting and engaging.
Now, one of the things about there's more than one way to skin a cat kind of thing, and so when looking at ways to engage somebody in a type of material like personal finance, that's obviously incredibly important these days. We all know that, but trying to make it appealing enough or engaging enough to students, in the course you're using right now, the students are actually looking for an embezzler, right?
That's right. They're trying to find out who's been embezzling money from the company that they've been hired to work for, and so it's almost a whodunit type situation. So it keeps them very engaged, and it makes it really pretty fun for the student. And so throughout the course, they see they conduct interviews with the suspects, and so they see videos on their screen of each of the suspects, kind of explaining maybe some unusual spending behavior. And by the end of the course, they've acquired the skills they need to really root out who the embezzler is.
Now, one of the things I remember in the early days in working with you was that you'd taken some time to go through and kind of vet out the course and actually looked at the standards that were being addressed. So can you talk a little bit about best practices and looking at standards and balancing that with also the engagement side of it? Do you have to throw away standards to get engagement, I guess is what I'm asking.
That's a great question, yeah. And the way standards work in personal finance is probably similar to a lot of subject areas. And so you have kind of national standards that are sort of the best practices for that subject area. But then at the state level, we're a local control country with regards to education. So in many states, that decision about what is supposed to be taught is made at the state level, and that's what happens here in Missouri with personal finance. So our state adopted competencies that they wanted teachers to guide their course with, and fortunately, the state basically just mimicked or mirrored the national level standards. And so the teachers that are teaching this course, the first thing they want to know is, does this ensure that at the end of the course, my students will have mastered all of these competencies that my principal or my superintendent wants to make sure that we teach? And so I went through and basically made sure that the course did that, and it really did hit. There are dozens of these competencies, and it hit I think all but one. And so that's better than most textbooks even, because with this course it really has a lot of content that teachers are supposed to cover, which is one of the reasons it becomes challenging for the teacher to keep the student engaged using any curriculum, because when you're supposed to cover so much material, it makes it very difficult to deviate from sort of the syllabus or the plan to mix things up. And so with this course, I think one of the best practices is to find ways to meet all of those standards or competencies very efficiently And then once you do that, you can add more, really more fun to the course, which is, I think, really essential